that's why I'm afraid to even post stuff online that are like IDs that aren't out yet.
Right.
Because I've seen it happen to other artists too, where they had a huge track pop on TikTok and then another artist copied it and tried to put it out before them.
You like the music playing in my head. You like the music playing in my head. You like the music.
What's up, guys? Happy Thursday. As you know, I've said this before, part of growing and expanding the show is doing more in-person interviews because it's so much easier to connect and read my guests' body language when we're sitting across from each other. And there's no internet connectivity issues. So when DJ and producer Freakon told me he'd be in town last week, I was like, hell yeah, let's do this shit in person. And special shout out to Professor Pizza for allowing us to shoot in his space again. This time we were on the Tetto rooftop in the West Loop. It is such a dope spot, such a great place to catch, pizza, obviously, and they always have shows there. House Calls recently did a show there. It was so much fun. Apologies if you're listening to the audio version of this episode. You may hear a bit of background train noise, but nothing too bad. This is a really great conversation. We chat about his year-long sober stint and how that benefit him in the studio. Plus, of course, some of the struggles artists face on social media today. Guys, Freakon Vinny, he has almost 60,000 monthly listeners on Spotify, and he's still facing some of the same marketing challenges that you and I face. So this is definitely a very relatable conversation, and there's a lot you can learn. So I hope you guys enjoy. Are you one of those DJs that doesn't wear shorts?
No, I'll rock some shorts.
You'll wear shorts?
I feel confident in how my calves look, so.
That's good. I never thought about that being the reason why people might not want to wear shorts.
So there was a running joke where some people didn't have the calves for it.
Yeah.
So I don't know which DJs it was, but that was what DJs don't wear shorts. And the running joke was because of the calves or whatever.
Men need something to be insecure about. We can't just take it all out. You know what I mean? We have everything else, so you guys have your caps.
Yeah, exactly.
That's fine.
No, I'll rock shorts. I don't know if that's not allowed in the cool DJ world, but I don't really care.
You're not part of the cool club?
Yeah, I guess not.
Well, you are part of the cool club because you came to meet me here today. So thank you for that.
Of course, thanks for having me.
It's so great to do these in person, and we are on a gorgeous Chicago rooftop, so what could be better?
Yeah.
You said you just came from Wilmington. How was that?
It was actually really dope. Really hot though, way hotter than I expected. I think when I got there, it was probably 99 degrees. Humid as hell. So I got there really early and I kind of wanted to go around, but it was just way too hot to do anything.
We talked about your sobriety when we met.
Yeah.
On the boat. How many years did you do?
I did a 500-day stint, so not quite 2 years, but it was just going to be a month. And so I was kind of proud to do a year plus, just especially in this industry and how I kind of started in the industry too. I don't think I was ever playing a set without drinking or, out and about. So it took a lot of relearning how to interact with people while sober and DJ and really get into it and feel comfortable.
So what was the catalyst, especially a month to 500 days?
There was a lot going on at the time, kind of transitioning with music and views and management, and I was kind of tired of being hungover. I had just turned 30, so I was up there.
It's the magic number for hangovers, I swear to God.
Yeah, and I was traveling, playing shows throughout that summer, and it just was oh man, I don't like being hungover on the airplane. And I just felt like my body needed a break, my mind needed a break, kind of wanted to reset and just really focus on what I wanted to do. So I feel like I got that out of not drinking for that long. And I kind of learned my limit, and I don't overdrink anymore. I don't black out. I'm more aware of when I'm drinking, like drinking water, this and that, and then you
Right.
know, the next day isn't terrible. So
It's interesting when you take a break and you come back and you have the ability to interact with substances differently.
Yeah,
It feels
yeah.
super powerful.
Yeah,
like,
it
hey,
really
I can
does.
do this and not overdo it.
exactly. Yeah, there was a bit of like mistrust within myself too before quitting. Like I almost didn't know my limits sometimes when like black out and be like, oh, I don't remember the really cool night that I wish I would have remembered, or that
Right.
set is a little bit more blurry than, you know, it should have been. So I just thought like, I think everyone should do it if they can, but I really wanted to like prove to myself that I didn't need that to do what I want to do for the rest of my life, you know. So
Right.
I don't want to, you know, make myself sick or ruin my health just to go DJ and have fun.
So when you were like in the thick of it, how did you deal with the feedback? Because obviously as an artist, everybody's, whether you're playing or not,
Yeah.
people are throwing drinks your way. Oh, come back here, grab a drink.
Yeah.
What was your, because I think a lot of people want to try this, but they're like, I don't know how to navigate
Right.
these events. I don't know how to say no. So how did
Yeah.
you say no?
I honestly just put it in my head, like, yeah, you got to do this or you might not have, you know, a long-lasting music career. And obviously that scares me too. I'm like, if I don't have music, like, what am I going to do for
Right.
the rest of my life? I've tried different things in the past, and this is always, you know, music has always came back into my life. So I was like, I just got to say no and deal with the, oh, why not? Or why are you sober right now? Or dude, just don't overdo it. Just have one beer. And it obviously was a little tough at first, but it became super easy. And then once you hit the milestones, I had an app on my phone too. It kind of like, it was kind of like a game. Like there was a bar, and you'd hit it a month, and then 6 months, and then a year. So it was kind of like, oh, how long can I
Yes,
go?
motivating.
Yeah.
No, that's great. That's a great way to do it.
Yeah, and I told people too, like that. What's kept me accountable too during it was I was like, I'm gonna do a year, and I didn't like. I was telling people that on purpose so that like if I did, you know,
Yeah.
want to drink or whatnot, I was like, no, I can't like, you know, lie to these people.
Right, you
and
had,
let
like, all
myself down,
these-
let them down. So that's kind of how I navigated that. But it got super easy. Like once I hit 3 months, I was just like, oh, I don't even really need it.
So what did you find were the changes in your music and your process of making music?
I think I just really had a clear mind to hone in on where I wanted to go with the music and what I wanted to do in the future. Because before I had a clear mindset, but I just feel like I was in that party boy, like party music, like tech house, which was kind of phasing out a little bit. And I honestly don't know if I would have really like honed in on, okay, I want to go this way with music that's a little bit more proper and not so much like main stage. I don't know how to explain it too much, but it just like it cleared my mind up on like exactly what I wanted to do, I think. And before I was like lost in the sauce a little bit, where I was like, oh, everything's going how I want it to go. And this is totally fine. I can do this forever. But it kind of gave me that, oh, you need to evolve and like, you know,
Yeah.
keep honing in on your sound and getting better at production and keep evolving. And I think I would have been a little bit more stuck,
Sure.
you know, in my ways, and
Yeah.
not like so much been like, oh, I need to keep like, you know, getting better and better and better, and like looking at other people, what they're doing and all that.
Right.
And I also have seen like my friends do sober synths before, and it's obviously helped them out. And people I looked up to, Dr. Fresh, Tony Fresh, actually was one of the ones that like brought up, you know, taking
Yeah.
like a break, because
Man.
he does that a lot.
I
so.
hear his name in so many of my interviews.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love that he's such a huge influence
He
in
is,
so many
yeah.
different ways.
He's a great guy. I mean,
Yeah.
on stage, off stage, he's a great person. So remembers everyone's names, you know, like you can meet you once, and
Yeah.
he just has that
It's rare.
that way to him where he can, you know, talk to you, and it seems like he actually cares and listens, and So we always talk, and he always has great insight. And during that time, he's like, maybe just try this. I know you have a lot of stuff going on in the background. Maybe quit drinking and really hone in on what you want to do.
Yeah,
so
that's
I
amazing.
can thank him a little bit for that as well.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And I mean, you brought up a good point, like drinking and party culture is integral to some people's brands.
Yeah.
And that is a dangerous thing. I mean, one can always evolve their brand.
Yeah.
But when you create like that atmosphere and like the partying and drinking and whatever else is like part of like who you are as an artist, it can be hard to get away from.
Right.
So it's good that you did that early on.
Yeah, and I mean, I think I put into my head too, like Freak On needs to be this like crazy persona,
Right.
Party boy, like, and I realized too, I was kind of losing myself. That's not totally me either. And I learned a lot about myself going sober, of how quiet and laid back and chill I am, and really not that crazy of a person if I don't have a bunch of alcohol in my system. You know? So, I could have overdone it and, been that annoying person to some people too. And I was just like, it's not totally me anymore. So I'm glad I did it, figured out, I can still have a good time, still be outgoing, but I don't need to be that party boy drinking all the time, looking crazy, chugging a bottle on stage,
Right.
So.
But if on occasion you want to, you want to. I mean, we should all have the opportunity to evolve ourselves. And I think one really hard thing about being in the public eye is people hold this mental image of you, and then that's what they decide you are.
Yeah.
And when you say, hey, no, I want to take a left turn, they're like, wait, what are you talking about? And so that could paralyze a lot of artists in fear.
No, for real.
Of not wanting to change because of that, because they're afraid what they might lose.
Exactly. Yeah, because people latch on to what they know. So, and I think in the dance music industry, it's so fragile with it slightly changing anything. People are going to come at you. You see it all the time with some acts, and I think that's why a lot of them just end up starting a new project or, going faceless or whatever, because some people don't even want you to change, and if you do try, they'll call you, like a sellout or like, why are you leaving this or that, going to a different genre. So it is scary. It is scary to change.
Scary, but it's brave.
Yeah.
Okay, so switching gears a little bit, you said faceless, so it makes me think of ghosts.
Oh,
and I know you have not two different things, but I know that you have strong opinions on, like, you don't post a lot of strong opinions online, because I always like to do a little recon before I have these interviews. I'm like, all right, what are they mad about? Like, or what do they love?
Yeah.
And for you, pretty much all I've seen is you have some strong opinions on ghost producers. Obviously, you're not the only one in the industry.
Right.
But I know, especially because of the circle of industry friends you keep around you, a lot of same people I know, you all really care about the integrity of your music.
Yeah, I think with anything, like any genre, even in entertainment outside of music, there's people that are, performing things that they didn't even touch, or and that's just the name of the game. That's showbiz, baby, But
Jennifer Lopez.
Exactly. Pop artists and a lot of them don't write their own music and they don't play instruments, whatever. But so, you can't be mad at that. But I think when you put your heart and your soul into music, and then there's guys out there that just come in with a bunch of money and buy a bunch of records from a producer and blow up and act, really act like it's their own thing. It does kind of affect real artists in the sense of oh damn, they're cheating to get ahead. But at the same time, you can't knock it if it's allowed in the industry, because it's all the way up to the top, to the corporate world. So it's probably what keeps a lot of artists alive and brings in a lot of money for our industry anyways. So but it does kind of suck sometimes, unless you're the ghost producer making a lot of money, then hey.
Right. Well, I do think that one good thing about fans in this genre compared to pop, top 40, whatever, is that we're a more educated fan base in general.
Right.
And I think that a lot of people can sniff out, the authenticity or inauthenticity.
Yeah.
And so, of course, at your main stage, whether there's someone who's, been ghost produced their whole life, you're going to have that happen.
Mm-hmm.
But you can create raving fans in this space that truly appreciate your artistry more than you can in other genres.
Right. No, I feel that for sure. It does take a little bit of work to do that as well and really stand out and try not to conform and sound like everyone else. And the bad thing too is with that on the other end is if you are ghosted, it always gets leaked, but it seems like half the people care and half the people don't. And so if you're making money as for a lot of people, then no one's gonna care.
That's a good
keep
point.
Covering it up.
I mean, it does all come back to money.
Mm-hmm.
That is the unfortunate truth about, being an artist and wanting to make a living as an artist.
Yeah.
This has been an issue since the beginning of time.
Yeah.
Whether it's ghost production, people copying you, straight up stealing your stuff.
I had a couple of those.
Did you?
Happened before. I don't
Like
wanna
where they
name
stole
names.
your tracks and put their own name on it?
No, they just copied the whole thing. Had someone else do production, and there was a little bit of beef on Twitter and stuff with it. I don't want to name names anymore.
I missed that one.
Yeah.
Okay.
There was a time when that happened. It was with a rock edit that I made.
Wait, I feel like I do remember that vaguely.
Yeah. So I mean, people are willing to do whatever they can to get ahead if they see something popping. That's why I'm afraid to even post stuff online that are like IDs that aren't out yet.
Right.
Because I've seen it happen to other artists too, where they had a huge track pop on TikTok, and then another artist copied it and tried to put it out before them. So
it's ruthless.
It's a weird, ruthless game of, and sometimes those artists that copy don't even produce themselves. So that goes back to the ghosting thing.
Right.
And I think that also has to do with not respecting the game in a sense, because you don't really know what goes into
of course
like your blood, sweat, and tears into sitting in a studio every day for 12 hours trying to like write music and come up with something out of nothing, and then someone else sees it or like just tell someone to do that. So
well, if they knew, they wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
The plagiarizing thing is really interesting because I started my professional career as a TV journalist, and we had rules of attribution. Like if you can't find something on the internet by like 5 different sources, that's when it kind of becomes like a general fact.
Okay.
You need to attribute it to the person you heard it from, because that's just the right thing to do, and also saving our ass from making sure people aren't saying that we're plagiarizing.
Yeah.
And now I look at content that's on social media. I'm like, wow, that's a copy of a copy of a copy, and nobody has attributed the original source. And I was literally thinking about this last night, and I'm like, it's fucking me up because nobody cares anymore. And I also think that's a product of there just being too much on the internet now. Like, what are we gonna do?
I think so. I think so.
The train agrees too.
I think too, it's so unofficial as well on the internet that if someone does copy like the way that they're promoting something as somebody else, and then more and more people do it super fast, then you're like, no one's gonna be like, I was the first one to do this,
right?
Because no one's gonna really care.
No, and
it's working for everybody.
Yeah, and it's hard to prove.
Yeah. So that's I think how the trends are made too, but they get super burnt out really quick.
Right.
Like remember when Did I Just Write the Song of the Summer?
Yeah.
Trend. Someone had to start that, and it probably worked for them, but then everyone did it. I kind of wanted to put my own spin on it and almost like make fun of it just because it was like so burnt out. Like,
right.
So like if I was like, with the Song of the Summer, I was like, did I just write the Song of the Summer? And then I pressed play and it was the Pornhub intro, and I was like, oh shit, wrong
I remember
tab.
that one.
So,
Yeah.
Like I'll still try and follow those.
I was gonna say, how often do you engage in trends? Because it's hard to keep up with.
Honestly, for me, social media has been pretty tough. Trying to like do trends and act them out, because before my social media was like mostly just like off the cuff, like out and about doing things and not really planning them. But once COVID hit and then post-COVID, social media totally changed, where you couldn't just like post pictures and like a few funny like stories and it would get sent around and popped off. You really had to like, you know, sit down and think and put time into it and act some stuff out. And I think that's where I'm like, you know, having a bit of trouble, but
yeah,
it goes back to not wanting to copy people as well and follow trends and become, you know, cheesy at it. Is, you know, I want it to look natural. And
well, yeah, I mean, you have to have the brain for like, because I'll see trends, like, or a meme or something, and I'll be like, I'm sure I have something good to contribute, but
yeah,
I'm not going to think of it fast enough.
Yeah,
the trend is going to go away before I think of something.
Yeah,
so
I'm very like that.
I commend people who can think that way.
Me too.
Because it's a skill, but it's frustrating that it's like, that it seems to be sometimes the only ticket to like virality.
Yeah, it really is.
Is like, oh, you gotta jump on this trend. And if you're not built that way, or you just, it doesn't feel authentic to you.
Yeah.
I mean, but you can't force yourself to be something you're not.
No. And I think like my strengths are writing music and being in the studio and DJing, and some people's strengths are social media. And right now, those who have strengths in social media are really, you know, doing more. And this ties back into the whole ghost production thing as well. I know I might get some hate for this, but like if you're really writing all the time and in the studio and paying attention to your music, and then what if you're also touring and stuff? And I guess if you're touring and writing music, that's where you can create your content. But I just feel like some people can focus more on social media than writing music because they have help in the studio or whatever.
I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Yeah.
Yes. Or they have funds to hire somebody to help them.
Yeah.
Which is, I've found to be the case in some artist situations. Like they'll use their day job to kind of fund hiring out help, which there's nothing wrong with that.
No, not at all. I mean, the resources are there and it's smart to go and use those. I just wish I had less of a problem with, you know,
totally
doing it, or else I probably would do it too. But I really want to earn it myself and feel good that like, oh, I got to the point where I did being my authentic self and putting what I can into it.
Yeah.
If, you know, people don't like it, then they don't like it. But at least I said I tried and, you know, didn't cheat or whatever. So
I think the main thing is it's a long game when you're trying to be authentic and you're not bending to those trends.
Yeah.
Like you will get where you're going. It's going to take longer, but at least you did it the way that you wanted to do it.
Right.
That's something I have to remind myself all the time.
Yeah.
Because we know that people's attention spans are not necessarily built for these like long form conversations.
No, they're really not.
But they are resonating with an audience. So I'm going to keep doing it. I don't really use like, I don't know. I don't do like the clickbaity sound bites. I try to stay away from that. I don't ask like questions that like put my guest on the hot seat. Like this is a journalistic endeavor and I'm going to fucking stick it out like for as long as I can, for as long as I can fund it until, you know, and I think, and I know that it will work out, but
as long as you're, like, you know, good at it, there's no way that it can't work out unless, you know, shit hits the fan and people's attention spans are.
God, I
can't
hope
pay attention to anything.
I mean, we're like at
music too.
We're at like a 3-second like mark now for people with content. And I was just having this conversation with Kai William. He messaged me after I posted something. I was like, if I were president, I would make all tracks under 3 minutes illegal. And he's like, you don't understand. He's a good friend of mine. So we were going back and forth, but basically saying like people's attention spans are so shitty now that this is what we have to do. It's different than like a club edit, but this is what we have to do for radio edit. So I'm like, all right, you're right. That doesn't, I hate when tracks are under 3 minutes because I'm like, that wasn't enough. Like but he was right. What are your thoughts on that?
I think if a track's really good and it's under 3 minutes now, and on Spotify or whatever, does it make you go back and listen to it more, which generates more streams?
That's what he said. I was like,
Yeah,
fuck.
so
it all comes
I
back
think it
to
goes
money.
back to money, and they're like, I think you can lose a lot of the track, the impact of the track when you have to shorten it so much. Like I'm seeing minimal and tech house tunes that probably should be 7 minutes, or they're extended, and they're under 3 minutes on Spotify. And you're
Yeah.
like, whoa, that's crazy.
I know. But that point about the money makes so much sense. And I was
Yeah.
kicking myself. I'm like, I'm a marketing person. How did I not realize that?
Yeah.
But I just did it with like Sosa's new track,
Mm-hmm.
White Girl. Like I literally started it over like 6 times.
Yeah,
And I'm
yeah.
like, wow, how did I not realize that?
Yeah, so it all goes back to streams. As long as you can really make that 3 minutes impactful and catchy. I haven't had like too much of an issue with the Spotify length of tunes, just more so Spotify in general.
Yeah.
And the way that music is discovered now, it does make it harder for some independent artists where you're not getting playlists. Because people really rely on those playlists now to
sure.
find music. And if you're not getting into those, your songs can get buried. It doesn't matter how good they are. There's some really good producers that are on Spotify with probably 10K or less monthly listeners, but their music is so good.
Yeah.
And it's just because, first off, it's oversaturated market, right? But if you're an artist, maybe even from Europe, that doesn't really have influence in the American game at all, but you're writing really good music, it could still get buried and never found if you're not, I don't know, a DJ or someone who really cares about music
Right.
and is digging all the time.
Right.
But Spotify also takes away music sales on like Beatport, and
Yep.
you're getting paid less. So I don't see so much the track length a problem, but Spotify in general has definitely shifted the way the music industry works as well. So
Yeah, there's got to be some. I mean, we could probably talk about this for hours. There's got to be some sort of renaissance
yeah,
with that soon because, I mean, nobody is benefiting but Spotify.
yeah, I am seeing is it Bandcamp? I think
Yeah.
is coming in pretty strong with people being like, maybe not even are putting their edits in their songs on SoundCloud, but not for free download. And then there's a Bandcamp link where they can go buy it. So instead of even having it on Beatport or Spotify, people have to go there and pay, and then you're making your money directly.
Right.
So,
I mean, that's how my dad was an early adopter of Apple. We had a Macintosh computer in 1996.
Mm-hmm.
He was always like, don't give our computer viruses. So I never had LimeWire or anything.
yeah.
So we had Apple Music. And I mean, I paid $1.99 per song.
Yeah.
Now, the toothpaste is out of the tube. How can you get people to pay?
Exactly.
Because there's
yeah.
just too much music people want to listen
Yeah.
to. So there's got to be some. Talking about this, it almost makes me think about how, in politics, there's a two-party system, which is bullshit. It can't just be this or that. We
Right.
need pay $1 per song, $2 per song, or it's all free. What is the
Yeah.
creative solution in the middle where the artist gets a bigger piece of the pie? We got to find that out because I do think that a lot of fans would support that mission.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think it might. I think artists are starting to get pretty frustrated with it because if you're not touring, you're not making the money that you should be from the art that you're putting out into the world.
Sure.
And I can't remember what the CEO of Spotify even said, but he even talked about how music isn't even that hard to make, or whatever he said.
I remember.
Content is free to make these days or whatever. So they don't even see it as worth $1.
Right.
SoundCloud's coming back a little bit in the sense of people are throwing their edits on there now. You can discover a lot of cool new artists on SoundCloud, but you're not going to make the money on there. So
Right.
we're going to Patreon, Bandcamp,
Right.
those where you can actually price your music up to where you want it to be.
Right.
And maybe people will buy it, maybe they won't. But if the music's good enough, and people are like, "Where can I get this?" You
Right.
know?
Yeah. Yeah. Then again, that means the onus falls back on you to kind of use social media,
Yeah.
create a community.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's one of those things that we have to accept in the moment. But
Mm-hmm.
I do think, especially with this genre getting more market share of fans, like something will happen.
Yeah, yeah. I think people are getting pretty burnt out on both ends of that. The not making so much money on the music and social media being like super important. Because I don't know, I think back when I first got into the scene, social media was it had little impact. Like artists were coming up and just being like, here's a new song. And people were like, hell yeah, you know,
Right.
like how much it evolved. So, but if you think about, I don't know, how memes are now versus back then too. It was all simple back then.
Yeah.
Now they're so crazy but so good and
I know,
hilarious.
so niche. Like you
Yeah.
have to understand like 12 memes before to understand. Yeah.
So that's kind of, I think, what's also happened in the industry as well. I can't knock social media.
But you're doing great at it. I mean,
Yeah.
you have a great following, and you do post consistently, and so
I try
you know,
to, yeah.
you're playing the game.
I try to. The most frustrating thing is the algorithms and trying to hit those. And, you know, sometimes Instagram isn't kind and won't show your stuff to anybody because it's a business now as well. It goes back to
Right.
money.
Right.
Like reach can fluctuate. And
That's important though to mention, because I think a lot of people, myself included, like if a post flops, I'm like, everybody hates me. It's like,
Yeah.
oh no, Instagram didn't show anybody.
Yeah, because you can go in and you look and it says right there, like, it was only shown to 1,000 people. And you're like, well, my
Like-
old post back in like 2 years ago were getting shown to 4,000 to
Yeah,
5,000.
or my post last week did, and it's like the same formula. So
Yeah.
why do you hate me today?
Yeah. And I don't know if it has to do with if you do end up boosting posts or whatever, or like
Nobody knows.
Yeah.
Nobody knows.
So
They keep it
once,
so
once
close
you
to
like
chest.
boost something, they're like, oh, keep on paying.
Yeah, I know.
No. So yeah, it's a tough game. It's I almost think that nobody really knows exactly what's going on, but some people figure it out and it works for them, and then it sticks.
Yeah. Well, you have been on a great trajectory of success. You will continue to figure it out, but I
Yeah.
appreciate your candor with this, because, you know, when people see, I mean, you are very successful in this industry. When people hear people like you talking about the same struggles that they're going through,
Yeah.
it just gives them a little sense of peace.
Right.
It builds community. So it's super important. So
Yeah. I also, when I see people post about it, like even big artists, and they're like, you know, I remember a couple years back seeing, I can't remember who it was, but they were on Twitter being like, I'm putting so much effort and nothing's getting seen because of the algorithms or this and that. It's like, you know, what's the point? And so I was like, oh, even big artists are, you know, frustrated
Totally.
with all that kind of stuff too. So it's an interesting game for sure.
It is.
Yeah.
So, okay, so tell me what you have coming up for the rest of the summer that you're excited about.
I got a couple shows coming up. One in San Francisco at Public Works that I'm pretty excited about. I put my friends on that opening, like locals from San Fran, so it's gonna be
Nice.
It's gonna be a time. I think that's August 17th. But other than that, I've just been putting my nose to the grindstone and really trying to figure out what the next moves are. Kind of, you know, as I said, I'm evolving and changing everything. So it's been kind of like a year of transitioning the sound and the brand and trying to figure out where I'm going to go with that. But yeah, I have a couple shows coming up. I'm going to ADE for the first time this
Nice.
year. So I
Major.
think that's in October.
And then you're going to come to Chicago Music Nexus in
Yeah,
November.
exactly.
Right?
Yeah, I'm going to be there.
Okay, good.
Yeah. And then I think I'm just really excited for the next steps going into next year and showcasing the new sound a little bit. My new song that came out last week was kind of like, you know, here's the new vibe.
Yep, and I loved it.
And thank you. So it's always kind of scary to do that kind of thing. Like we talked about, people latch on to a certain sound or persona that you are, and then if you change it, you know, it's kind of hard to gain the trust back of people or new fans, especially when you've been around or have different genres on your top 5.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, but we'll see what happens.
Well, I'm excited for you. I'm excited to see what's next.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah.
Playing in my head.
If you guys enjoyed today's conversation, the best way to support the show is to subscribe if you haven't already, share with your friends, or leave me a review. That helps boost up this show in the ever elusive algorithm. I really appreciate it. And guys, just a quick reminder, Chicago Music Nexus pre-sale ends in a week. I want you guys to secure those pre-sale tickets before we close it for GA. We'll be reopening tickets in August at our full GA price. Now, at Chicago Music Nexus, you will learn to tackle the challenges that we talked about in today's very conversation. Growing or pivoting a brand that fans obsess over, how to build a team that's going to help support your goals, how to adapt when the tides shift in the music industry or with marketing. All of those things will be covered. Plus, we're going to have 2 intense networking sessions where you'll be fed. You'll be given premium liquor or mocktails of your choice. And you'll get to rub elbows with artists like Freakon and the other ones we invite to come help you grow your career and deepen your network. You guys don't want to miss out on these pre-sale tickets. Again, 1 week left to secure them now. I have our website in the show notes. Go secure your ticket, and I'll talk to you guys next week.